Welcome to the Paranoid Perspective. My name is Jake.
And I'm Sarah.
We are going to cover everything from the spooky to the conspiratorial to the weird, mysterious. Words are hard sometimes. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything in between the weird, the creepy, the outrageously unbelievable things. I might be selling this a little too much, but we're probably going to cover a wide range of subjects here on this episode, or this podcast, not episode, but this episode is really going to be dedicated to some ding dong behavior on your behalf, Sarah.
Yeah.
And
I made it out. It's fine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're fine. And the thing is, you've talked about this on another podcast that you were running, and I'm not sure if that is still going on or not, but it's pretty much a pretty insane story. I knew loosely about it, and it was one of those that, when you put out that, text or message or whatever you sent out to everybody, I was like, hold
Yeah.
the fuck on. What the hell am I about to listen to?
Yeah. I mean, you didn't say anything back to the text.
Well,
So,
I didn't know exactly how to react. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I
that's
was
fair.
like, that's not something that I would ever. I don't know. It's like you read stories about this stuff, watch documentaries about this stuff, and you're always like, oh, that would never happen to me, or I would never know anybody that did that. And now, well, here we are.
Yep. Now that's me.
Yeah, that's you. So we're good.
Yeah. So we can talk about it. Now I can hear your opinion on everything.
I know, right? So enough of beating around the bush, enough of leaving everybody in suspense. Sarah, what are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about that time I joined a cult in
Hell
Japan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bit of. I know you've covered this on a previous podcast before too. Let's do just a quick little backstory on just some ins and outs of the cult, and then we can kind of get into what actually happened to you. If that, yeah. Let's just give some context because I think I watched parts of the documentary on that. I think it was on Netflix, but it was one of those
Yeah.
things where I was more interested in your experience more than anything, if we're being honest.
Right. Well, a little bit about the cult. I mean, it's been around since like the 1980s,
Okay.
which obviously I didn't know anything about any of this before
Well,
I
yeah.
joined it. But it's called Providence. There's other names too for it, or JMS, I guess. But it's like a new religious movement that was founded by Jun Myung-suk, is how
Okay.
you say his name, which I never knew his name, so I couldn't look up anything. We just called him Sunsanim, which is like teacher in Korean.
Very broad and
So that was fun. Yeah. So I didn't know any of this till I I looked into it last year, I guess, to
Yeah.
get ready. But yeah, it's called a cult by media, but it's been around for that's like 40 years almost.
Yeah.
Or more than 40 years. Yeah. So it's been around a long time. And it's headquartered in Walmingdong, South Korea, which I'll get to later.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like over 70 countries now. Like there's members
Wow.
in, yeah. So that was one of the selling points they had for me.
Selling
I can
point.
get into it because they knew I liked to travel, and they were like, well, we have members. You can stay with them for free and go to Germany or go to South Africa or, all these places, and you can stay with a member for free. So that was a selling point, but obviously not enough to stay. But yeah, so it was first called Christian Gospel Mission, and it's also known as Jesus Morning Star, which is the JMS. At first I thought it was his name since he is Jun Myung-suk, but that's just a coincidence, I guess.
He might have had that planned out,
Yeah. Yeah, but I knew it as Providence. See, the problem is it's called different things everywhere too.
Okay.
And each church location actually has its own name as well. So you can't trace it back to this.
Well, I mean, I get that aspect of it, but when you're talking about like you said, a selling point was, oh, you can travel and go to it. It's like, do you have to know somebody that knows somebody that is friends with somebody to get to these places? Since it sounds like it's not you can't just Google Maps it. You know what I mean?
Right. It's kind of, they have a hierarchy, I feel like. I had a handler, I guess, is what you would call her. So she planned trips for me and stuff. So she would get into contact with someone where we could stay in Tokyo or something, someone's house. So it is a network, but you have to be a certain level to like know some things, you know?
Hmm. Well,
Like they're
I,
not going to tell you when you
yeah,
first join.
I guess that's probably a smart move on their end, have everything kind of decentralized for the newbies, so to speak,
Right. Like I still don't remember what the church was called in Nagoya, so I can't even look it up still, like where it was and stuff. I like kind of remember, but I don't remember what it was actually called, so I can't like Google Maps it.
Yeah.
But
Well, so it's been
um
around for quite a while. There's a
yeah,
vast swath of people that are at different levels of this thing. Like it's always blows me away when you hear stuff like this, just the generalized things about these cults or these organizations of how like much of a centralized command they actually have, but you wouldn't see it at face value. You know what I mean?
right. It is pretty crazy because like the people closest to him, I think they called them stars or something too, and
Sounds
like
legit.
those were his first commanders or whatever, and
Yeah.
I don't know. And like celebrity level at some point.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, I
I'm
got you. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember this one lady. I don't, it's in my notes somewhere, her name, but she like came to visit our church specifically, and I like shook her hand, and everyone was freaking out because she was like the main person since this guy was in jail at the time.
So we have the name. We
Yeah,
could do a whole episode just on what the cult has done, probably up
yeah,
into through the 40 if that 40 plus years of their existence. I just wanted to get like that general idea. So let's give some people some background. So where were you when you first got, I guess, these people's attention, so to speak?
yeah. So, I was studying abroad in Nagoya, Japan. So the way they did it is they did like a survey of foreign people like as if they were like a student on campus.
Oh, okay.
So this was like in September or like late September. Like I got there early or mid August, so it was like a month later where they found me already. But
Waiting
like
for you.
yeah, I mean they were just kind of roaming around and said, "Oh, we have a survey for you," and it could be for a class or something. Like that's pretty common on
Sure.
college campuses. So, and I love surveys. So I was like, "Sure,
Yeah.
I'll do a
Yeah.
survey."
Sign me up, whatever it is.
Yeah, it was two Japanese ladies, and I thought they were, students like around my age. And they kind of asked a lot of different questions of like, well, definitely like, how did you grow up religious? Are you interested in religion? And like questions like that. And then also, what do you like to do for fun and stuff? So, like, through that, they found that I was raised Catholic and that I was interested in that, like, a little bit like because I feel like I would talk to people about their churches and everything, so
Hmm.
that kind of got brought up. And then also that I liked volleyball, so then they were like, oh, let's exchange contact information, and we have like a club that does volleyball like once a month or something. So then they invited me to that, so that was the next thing. It's like a week later I went to volleyball with them and we played and they sucked. So it was
Nobody here plays volleyball. We're just
yeah, it
trying
was
to get this girl.
that's legitimately what happened. That's
I,
what happened.
I want to know the conversation. How many people were here at this volleyball scrimmage or whatever?
There were like 10.
Okay.
Like, we had 5-on-5 or something.
Oh, see, this is what I want to know. I would love to been the fly on the wall to be like, hey, we have a possible new member. She loves playing volleyball. I know none of you play volleyball, but we're all going to get together and play volleyball with her.
Yes, that's literally probably exactly what happened.
Oh,
Because
man.
I was thinking, man, they really don't play. Like, they are not good players. We
Well,
never played.
well, of course not. Why would you? They got you in.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it was just
There's
that one time.
no just to butter you up a little bit is all it was, man.
Well, and it was all Japanese people. So I was thinking, oh, these could be friends, like
Sure.
Japanese friends.
Yeah.
Since I'm there and I want to learn the language and stuff, I
Hmm.
could hang out with them. So I was thinking that too. So that's kind of how they also got me. And then they brought up at some point like a Bible study thing,
Hmm.
which also is fairly common, I
Yeah,
feel like,
sure.
at schools and stuff. So I was
Yeah.
like, sure, I'll go to your Bible study like once or whatever. And then that's what they call them if they know you have a religious background. If they know that you don't, then they call them like something else, like a study session or something.
Yeah,
Like they won't call it a Bible study, but
right. The point of this initial probing tactic is to see if they can get you to probably come with them to social events or whatever the group activity is, so to speak. I'm sure, right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like I said, probing, preconditioning sort of idea. You know what I mean? That they're buttering you up, so to speak. You know?
Right. Yeah. And I found out later that the two women that originally talked to me were not students. They were like in their 30s. Like they were older than me. So it's
Oh,
like,
so
okay.
they get the young looking college students to, or maybe it could be. Well, I mean, there are plenty of college students that aren't that 19, 20, 21. You know what I mean? Maybe they went back.
Yeah.
You haven't.
Right.
I can see where the benefit of the doubt, especially in a new country where you're trying to learn the language and you're trying to, assimilate to the culture to, have the best experience possible. It'd be easy to fall into something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, they specifically target people like that
Yeah.
too,
Yeah, exactly.
because yeah, you're halfway around the world alone or whatever and looking for friends. And so, yeah, I think we went to like dinner a couple times too before they mentioned the Bible study. So, like, I had hung out with them, maybe the volleyball thing, maybe a couple dinners, like we were texting and stuff. So, I thought, at this point, we've hung out probably a month and they're kind of maybe friends or
Right.
getting to be friends.
Yeah.
And then they brought up the Bible study. So, I was like, well, sure, whatever. And then from there, so there's like 30 lessons. They call them like the lessons, but there's 30 sessions for the Bible study.
Hell yeah.
And my first one was October 18th. And then I went through all of them by the end of December.
Jesus.
Yeah,
How
I was
long
doing
are
like,
these things?
they're like an hour
Oh
and they're like little
man.
PowerPoint presentations.
A power. Oh my goodness.
Like they share them through everywhere and they like have a set thing at this point that's like these are the presentations and this is the order you go in to like slowly get you used to because the first couple are like normal like stuff you would do in a Bible study.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I
then
was going to
by
ask
the
what
like
is it?
middle,
What was there ever a point during those? I'm sure the first few probably not, but was there ever a point where it
you
was like,
produce.
what the hell is this?
And okay.
Just have it cut out or something?
Yeah, it just stopped for some reason, even though it
Hmm.
said it was still going. I don't know. It doesn't want my story again.
It doesn't want it. The powers that
Yeah.
be, the JWS or what a JWST, not that.
I don't know where were we at. There's 30 lessons. And
Yeah.
I did
So
them all
here,
in like
yeah. So was there any point like I know those first probably like couple were pretty general and nothing to really freak out about, but were there ever any in there that you kind of like turned your head a little bit and were like, what the fuck is this?
yeah, I mean, they like towards the end, they
Yeah,
eventually say that like their son Sanim is the next coming of Jesus because of this numerology. They have this like whole numerology thing of like in the Bible it has these numbers, which really means this, and blah 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 blah, and that's when he was born, and like all that stuff.
that's a bold strategy for him. I mean, if you're gonna start a cult, you don't want to half-ass it. You want to whole-ass it. You're gonna
Right.
be the next coming of the Lord and Savior. You know,
Yeah.
I
But I don't. I mean, by then, like I thought they were my friends, so I was like, well, they can be in a cult, like, or they can
yeah,
believe this. Not
yeah,
necessarily like cult. They do have like a whole lesson of like the difference between a cult and a religion to like prime you to be like, this isn't a cult, this is a religion or whatever.
yeah, yeah. This,
So,
what we're doing is completely normal. Don't worry about what you've heard on media or anything like that, and don't think for yourself. This
right.
is fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, they kept saying like their pastor too. So I didn't think he was like the leader of the whole thing. And they talked about how he was in jail, but that's like how Jesus was like crucified. Like that's his cross to bear. He's being like falsely accused or whatever, and that's what he
Mm.
has to do to repent for our sins again or whatever, like Jesus did.
Did they say what he was in prison for?
They just said he went to prison because they don't want him to be the next Jesus or whatever.
Ah, yeah,
Because Jesus was prosecuted too, so
yeah,
he's being, but
yeah,
they didn't say why. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We're not going to give you context. We're just going to tell you why. That
right.
sort of thing. So I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but what was he actually in prison for?
So he was in prison for like sexually assaulting women in his group, like in
Par for the
Korea.
course with a cult leader.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the biggest
I mean,
thing was that.
I'm not trying to make light of that at all, and I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to make a joke out of it. But at the same time, it's just like, why is that the trend with these leaders? It's like, hey, I'm going to be this huge religious figure in your life, but I'm also going to need to have sex with all your wives.
Right. Well,
Like,
no, like he like doesn't let like you have to petition to get married and stuff.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they set you up and stuff. So
And I get it. You know, it's all about at the end of the day, anything in these organizations, cults, whatever you want to call them, religious, whatever. It really does come down to that one individual being in control of the group.
yeah,
And the
right.
easiest way is, especially with people relationship wise, you know, you don't want to have anybody above the cult leader in your life. You know what I mean? That needs to be the primary focus. You know what I mean? So I get the not being, you know, the petition to be in a relationship or being married. And I also get, you know, the reason why he would use that sort of tactic against especially the women in his group. You know what I mean? It's just it's pretty disturbing, but it makes sense, you know, for
Right.
the control
Yeah, and
aspect of
he
things.
right. And he tried to make it, well, he called them health checks so he can heal your body because he's Jesus or
Ah,
whatever.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. And
Yeah.
hey, by the way, I'm Jesus. I know you're, you know, alien in whatever predicament you're in, physically or mentally. You know what'll help? Come on into my room real quick. Man,
Yeah.
bold strategy, Cotton. Bold
Yeah.
strategy.
And one of the people, because like there were allegations against him eventually, and one of the women was like the one that had these health checks, but then she ended up getting cancer. So she was like, well, you can't actually be Jesus then because you
Liar.
gave me like, yeah. So she like,
Gee.
yeah. So like all that came out. I mean, he was in jail for a while because they were trying to get him and he like fled to like Thailand or something for a couple years and what kept doing stuff there too. And then he finally went back to South Korea to face trial or whatever. And then he was released in 2018, but he's back in jail now
Good for him.
for like, yeah. So he's back in jail. But yeah, he was in jail while I was there, so that's good.
Yeah, you know, good thing you didn't have any fucking health checks, creep.
Well, yeah, and I don't think I would have like gone in there. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know any Korean or anything. I don't know, I'd probably
yeah.
punch him in the face.
Get away from me, you creep.
I mean, they do say that's like a stereotype that don't mess with like Americans because they're loud and they won't stand for it or whatever.
That's fair. Yeah, I was
But
gonna
so I don't know if
say,
they would have tried.
yeah, I will say I didn't have the same experience you did in South Korea, but that trope was definitely around for, you know, any local person that I had contact with. Is that was the first thing? Is they were very very subdued, very respectful, but also like almost didn't want to talk to you at the same time. They would still, you know, speak with you and have, you know, great conversations and whatnot. But I think that that's that kind of mindset that Americans are these loud, obnoxious, you know, flamboyant individuals that, you know, the two cultures clashing there don't really
Mhm.
mix well,
Right.
you know.
Like you'll cause a scene for sure is kind of
Yeah,
the idea, yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So
but
you went
who knows? At least he was in jail, so
well, and thankfully he was in jail, you know. But you went through these courses, these PowerPoints, which I have to say has to be just the most riveting time ever, you know, of you going through these.
well, some
What?
of it was interesting, but
Well, sure. Yeah. I
that's
mean,
why I kept going.
yeah. Well, you know, they give you little nuggets to keep you like, oh, what's up with this? Oh, what's up with this? You know? So
Yeah.
what happened after you kind of completed those courses? You were kind of, were you in it at that point or was it still kind of like they were still feeling you out?
I think once you do those, you are kind of in it. Like they
Okay.
trust that you'll, because then I went to actual like church services. I guess they do like fake services if you like they won't have his
Well, they
picture
play
and
fake
stuff up
volleyball.
and well yeah. Right. So like I went to real services where he like he like writes from jail like little proverbs and stuff and sends it every single day. You get one of these in your email, or like they'll distribute it or like talk about it at the service. And I was like
Really?
there for those. So I think they thought I was in it for sure. I mean, once you do the 30 lessons, plus
Yeah,
like
man.
one of the last ones is saying like he is like literally, because they tiptoe around it a lot, that he's the next Jesus or whatever, and this is the third like complete era is what they call it or whatever. Like because you have like the Old Testament and the New Testament. This is like the complete testament, and everything comes in threes and whatever.
Damn, they are whole ass in this.
Right. So like they the last lesson is that he's the new Jesus or whatever. So I already knew that they were gonna say that because they breadcrumb it so much. I was like, this
Right.
is the logical conclusion that they'll tell me this. But like that didn't mean I believed it, but they thought I believed it, I guess, because I was still hanging out with him. And
Well, yeah, and like you said, it was more of a friendship thing. It wasn't like,
right,
"Oh my gosh, this has changed my life. I believe that this guy is Jesus," you know. It was more of you were in a foreign country, started studying abroad, and you wanted, you know, people to hang out with that
right,
were
yeah,
local, you know, people. It
right,
wasn't
and like practice Japanese and
yeah. Well, because I mean, especially from my very limited understanding, any language in that era or that region of the world, the practical application of it versus the, you know, book learning application of it is completely different.
right,
You
yeah,
know, so
yeah, it is.
y- you almost have to hang out with the people and speak the language and go through, you know, the different social structures that happen in that culture to really understand that language to its fullest potential, you know.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and I'm
So
hanging out with them like 10 people at a time and listening to their talking. So they just happen to be in this cult. So,
yeah, they were just happy, you know, they just happened to, you know, really want you to join their religion, you know.
right. Yeah, and there were some Australians there too that were helping the lessons, like teach me or whatever.
Like they
So,
were like,
yeah, yeah. So they were like, so we talked a lot in English, but like all of the services were in Japanese and stuff. But yeah, I guess, yeah, they thought I was in it. And I feel like I was mostly just using them to see stuff in Japan. And like, I don't know, I feel kind of bad a little bit, and I thought they were my friends at that point.
yeah, I
But
mean, it's one of those weird, like, I don't know if I would feel bad about it, you know. I mean, I would feel bad that I thought I had friends that weren't really my friends,
well,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd feel bad about leading them on a little bit. I mean, because you
Well,
weren't like,
yeah, they wasted time on me. So
yeah,
versus
yeah,
someone else.
yeah, that's true. So you get done with these lessons, you're going to these services. Did it start to like ramp up like exponentially, or did it kind of still kind of start to slowly build at that point?
I would say that at the beginning they really wanted me to go like Wednesday and Sunday and like Saturday, and I was like, I'm just gonna go one of the days or something to the service. So I feel like they were trying to, but they didn't want to push me too much either to be like, you have to
Hmm.
go or whatever. So I feel like there was, because if I lived there, I think it would have been different. Like they would have tried to get me to live with them or like to be more in it or whatever. But they had to kind of tiptoe that a little bit. So I feel like I said no a lot that maybe other people wouldn't have said no.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I didn't feel like it was too much until like, well, so over winter break, so after I already know all the lessons and stuff, winter break, we went to Tokyo for a volleyball competition thing, which was
How'd
like
that
actually
go?
people playing. No, it was
Okay.
good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was good. But it was like still through this church or whatever. So there was like more religious stuff than I wanted to do, but I was like staying with people like in their house and stuff. So I was like, okay, I guess
Uh,
I'll do this, but I don't really want to. Because also, since he was in jail, they had this thing where they prayed at 1 p.m., 1 a.m., and like 7 a.m. Either
gross.
7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Maybe 7 p.m. Like 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m. So like they'd want you to wake up at 1 a.m. to pray for him or whatever, or just in general. and then go back to sleep. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I never did that except when I was with these people and then everyone's doing it. I was like, okay, I guess I'll pretend I'm praying right now at 1 a.m. But
A little
so
bit of
that was a
sleep
little much.
deprivation to add
Yeah.
to your cult experience.
Yeah. But like one of the things that was weird is that they said like the 117, but that was my student number for the exchange student program. I was like 117.
Maybe
So I was
that's
like,
why
oh,
they
it's a
targeted you.
sign. Like, no, they didn't know that till like we were already doing all this stuff.
Well, you know
So
what?
I was like, oh, that's a sign.
Maybe he really is the third or the second coming of Jesus, and you screwed up, Miss
I,
117 over here, you know?
I, yeah. Well, I did think that for a little bit. I was like, what if this is history? But I was like, then I realized I don't care. Like towards the end, like kind of in the middle, that's why I was going more. I was like, oh, maybe this is real. Like, when Jesus actually was around, there were so many people who said it's not real or whatever. I was like, maybe this is like history in the making and there is going to be a New Testament book about this guy or whatever. And then I was like, well, but I don't care about being Christian. Like, that's only if
Right,
you're Christian. So
right,
that's like one of the things that I was like, I'm done with this because I was like, I don't even care if it's true because it's not like my path that I want to do. So, but there was a little bit of time where I was like, maybe this is a new thing I should be in or whatever.
yeah, you could have been one of the examples in the New Testament of how you didn't believe, and then the glory of the 117 came through, and you were shown the light. You
Right.
know,
I mean, the problem, well, not the problem for them, I guess the problem was that I never really believed to begin with. I mean, that's always been
well,
the problem. I was
fair,
looking at it as more of a logical, like, this is a logical conclusion based on the things you've told me or whatever. I never felt like spiritually moved by it. So I
right?
feel like they thought I was doing that. So they thought they had me, but I was like, nope. I just want to go
Nope,
on trips with you
not
guys.
today. I'm just using you for travel.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, so the winter break, it was like a couple days in Tokyo, so I was like exhausted after that because of the waking up or whatever.
Yeah, the sleep deprivation they were putting you through.
Right. But then it got back to like normal where I was just going like once a week or whatever. And we were hanging out outside of that too. Like we went and did stuff that I brought up to do, I guess. Like I was wanting to travel and stuff. So that's why I still thought like, oh, they're still friends. And I did join the choir
What
so
were
I
you
could learn
singing
more
about?
Japanese. Well, they
Ah, yeah, I gotcha.
like everyone, I feel like I still have the sheet music too or something, but everyone like makes songs and stuff. Like they have all these new gospel songs that people have made for this
Really,
specific, yeah. And it's on YouTube if I could find them, but like they're all on YouTube and stuff.
dude. I'm
You have to like
listeners.
know
I am
the
finding these, and they will be in the show notes. I promise. I'm gonna find them.
yeah, I mean I still have the sheet music too. I mean it was in Japanese, all the ones I was doing. But like yeah, they are all on YouTube and there's all these people that do like all this creative stuff with it. So
Does it
I
pay
joined the
well?
choir. No, they're not, no one's getting paid. It's like doing it through a church.
I was about to say I'll
I mean,
go over
all the
South.
people
Or
that are, yeah.
let me write this
Well,
dude some songs.
there were quite a few people who like that was their job is like stuff within the church and they got like room and board and stuff and like the church was providing all this stuff for them.
Hey, look, man. As long as I don't have to have any medical ailment, whatever things, I think I'll be
Well,
okay.
you're a guy, so they're not going to do that.
Oh, prejudiced
It was
against
only,
dudes, sexist.
yeah, it was
That's
right. It was
messed
only
up,
the,
man.
yeah, I forget in the documentary it said like his goal was to have sex with like 1,000 women or something like that. So that's one of his motivations.
Well, in
But yeah, I
prison,
mean,
never mind. Anyway, as you were saying,
yeah, I still have all my notes basically on the Bible studies too, but some of them don't make as much sense. But I do have all my notes. I was thinking of typing those up to post somewhere.
yeah, you should
Um,
make a my time in a cult. You know, there you go. You could analyze and read those notes, and dude, an audiobook of that would be awesome. There you go. Your next
right.
venture right there.
Yeah, because like a lot of people that talk about this and stuff, like they don't know what exactly is being said in these lessons or
I
whatever.
believe it. Yeah, because like you said, they target the foreigners, maybe people that are just not there for, they're just there for traveling, going through, and, I couldn't imagine, getting swooped up by some people and then having to go through these things after you've kind of been conditioned into it. Now you're sitting through services in Japanese that you have no clue what's happening. People having conversations next to you where you have no clue what they're saying, you know?
Right. Yeah. My handler was translating everything for me though, but
Well, she was probably lying to you a little bit.
obviously, yeah, probably a little bit. I mean, there was some parts I could get what they were saying, but
Sure,
that was like
sure.
another thing. Like one of the first things I did where I wasn't really in it yet was go to like this play that they put on like at the church about like his I thought it was about Jesus, but it was about this guy like being in a castle or whatever and stuff. So I didn't I mean that was all in Japanese and I was like I don't really I thought it was like the story of Adam and Eve or whatever, but then it ended up being about that guy or whatever. But that was kind of weird because I was like just sitting through this play in Japanese. And I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
fun.
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
this looks good. No, they can act better
right.
than they can play volleyball.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh my God, another thing was in Tokyo when I went for like a couple days. They did like a modeling class to like learn how to walk, like catwalk and stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he had a catwalk up to his bedroom
Right.
chambers to give you your medical exam. He wanted to see what ailed you as you walked towards him.
Yeah.
Freaking
Oh,
weirdo.
and it like they call everyone like brides. We're all
Oh,
brides.
mm,
Even
yeah.
the guys, everyone's brides.
Hey,
Cause
man,
because Jesus is the groom,
that's fair, and I
or
get that
God is the groom or whatever.
from a Christian perspective. I can see that, but with the practice
Right.
of me or my significant other, wife, whatever, they don't. They're going to be healed by this guy, which means they're going to have sex with this guy, and I don't know if I want to be called a bride in that situation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the time it made sense the way they said it, but obviously I didn't know any of the other stuff. But yeah,
Well, sure, sure. So
but
church services start to get a little weird. You're there for friends.
right. I'm in the choir, so I have to practice like the day before for like 4 hours. They want to practice. I was like,
Hmm.
I did it like for 2 hours. See, I feel like I still was like, I'm just doing it this much time. Like I had more boundaries, I guess, or something. Because I was like, I'm not spending 4 hours or 6 hours on a Saturday just
Absolutely not.
practicing the songs. Like, no. And I feel like because if I had been Japanese, they would have pushed a lot harder. Because a lot of the people too, like they live together, so that way you're in the group or whatever and all that stuff. So I think it was lucky that I wasn't like
Well, and
that.
and and that culture, especially too, when it comes to the respect for authority, is a lot different than the more Western American respect for authority.
Right. Yeah.
So I could see how it'd be a lot easier for them to target people and condition them much more easily into that you will be doing this. You will be because this is what you have to do now, sort of
Right.
idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, because they were saying, like, I mean, there's some people in the US who are part of this, but at the time there weren't that many. So they were thinking, like, oh, they're expanding the American reach. Because I feel like it
Uh,
would be harder to like have Americans or like maybe
are
other.
you are you are you secretly a recruiter for them now?
Yeah, that's why I'm bashing them through two
Yeah.
podcasts at this point.
Yeah.
That I mean, they did have a place in Chicago, or they might still. They really wanted me to, because I told them I was moving to Chicago when I got back here, and they were like, "Oh, you should live by the church. It's downtown and so." And I'm like, "Dude, my job's like an hour and a half away from downtown. Like, I'm
I
not
can't
living downtown."
I can't
Like,
be bothered to live downtown when I have to drive an hour and a half away.
exactly every day. Yeah, that's not happening. Like they were, but they really wanted. And at this point, I mean, I jumped ahead a little bit, but at that point, I knew I wasn't going to continue. Like to me, once I got back, once I left Japan, it was like a break, like done. But they didn't know that. I had to pretend because I was still hanging out with them. I could have just stopped hanging out with them.
Well,
I just pretended that I was gonna continue in the US or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't
yep.
know.
Sounds good. I will do your will over in Chicago to, get more of these people to get the what did you
Yeah.
call it? The complete or the full
They called it like the Complete Testament or
the
something.
complete testament. I will
I
I
guess
will
the
go
third
preach
one.
yeah, the complete
Yeah.
testament for you guys.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, the Tokyo one, it was yeah, okay, but again, I had to stay with them, so I didn't like waking up at like 1 because they really encouraged you to do that, obviously, and I couldn't not do it when I was staying with them, but I never did it on my own because I was like, fuck that.
Yeah,
So I don't know if other people would have done it, but there were other people at my school, like other foreign exchange students that got into this too.
really.
Yeah, there was at least one other girl from IU because I saw her sometimes at the services.
Huh.
So, so that was kind of crazy that we were both like on the same track, I guess.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I have to assume that they probably send out probably tens of people to those
Yeah,
colleges to
right,
go recruit, so to speak. You know what I mean? It has
right,
to be daily might be a little excessive, but it has to be like a monthly thing where they go and just hey, fill out the survey, talk to me about
right.
your life. You know what I mean?
I mean, probably at the beginning of each semester, at least.
At least, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
because also the school I went to was also like a Christian school, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah.
So they probably targeted there too because they thought just because
Well,
you're exchanged there or whatever then. But so after like I'm in the choir, I'm going like once a week probably, and then we kind of continue that for a while. I did go like snowboarding with them, which was fun.
could they snowboard, or do they lie about that too?
They did, yeah, they snowboarded. No,
Hmm.
the only lying part was the volleyball just to get me in, I
Okay.
guess. I mean, other people played, just not the people that first came to the first. They couldn't get the real people to play, I guess, for the first
Yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah. They had to get the make believe team up there. You know what I mean?
Right. But it worked. I
Yeah,
guess it worked.
man, man, these people really suck at volleyball. I still that cracks me up.
I mean, that was crazy. Wait, to go back to the number, the 117,
Mm-hmm.
that was a lie too, though. Because it was based, they said it was based off his prison number was 117. So like pray 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m. But his actual number was 1178. So they left off the 8 part. I think to maybe make it so it was like assigned to me when it wasn't. Because I didn't
That's
find that
fair.
out till I was looking at the documentary that it said
Mm,
1178. And the saying was 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m. for 8 times a better life was what their saying was.
very
So they just left
crafty.
off that part. Yeah, so that was crazy. But yeah, the modeling thing, yeah, I don't remember if they took, because I saw in the documentary too that they would take pictures of women like in the modeling thing and send it to him in jail. And I do not remember if they took my picture or not. So
My
he might have
God,
got a picture of me because
Jesus.
he would use that to say, like, because also he really wanted tall women. And they always said how tall I was and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that like creeps me out. But like he would use those photos that they took and say, bring this woman to me in jail or whatever for a
A
session or whatever.
healing
Not
session.
like he couldn't do anything. No, he couldn't do that in jail, but just to talk or whatever.
This ain't a conjugal visit, boy.
Yeah. So that was like gross. I cannot remember if they took my picture,
Well,
but
fingers crossed they didn't.
I
My
know. Well, at least
God.
because in the documentary, like some of them were like they were wearing swimsuits and stuff. Like I never did that, so at least I know
Right.
that I would have
Right.
been fully clothed at least. But yeah, and the choir you had to wear like a white shirt and a yellow skirt to be bridal, I guess.
Very fashionable.
They were obsessed with being brides. Well, it's also Japan. See, I couldn't tell if it was the church or Japan because Japan, they already dress up and like all the women wear skirts already.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like you could wear pants, but like to a church, like people already are dressing up and stuff. So I wasn't sure if it was like the culture or the church, or could be both, but
I was gonna say it's probably a good combination of the two, honestly.
right. Yeah. Yo, and they encouraged me a couple times to write a letter to him in jail to like
Mm.
explain who I was and that I'm in the fold, I guess, or what, like I joined the church and stuff. Which
So
I
you
did.
talk you talk about some cool shit. The PowerPoint's kind of boring, but all in all, I'm in.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I did like write him a letter, but I think I
How'd that
have it
go?
still. I
Do
just
you?
yeah, like in my G drive or something, I have it. I found it last time I did this a podcast, but I'd have to find it again. But I feel like I just said, I'm from America and I'm a student at this place and whatever. Like, just, I love playing volleyball or whatever shit like that.
Wish you had
But
some
they,
members that could actually fucking play.
yeah. But they kept telling me if I didn't meet him, then I couldn't go to heaven. It's all that bullshit again of like, you have to go through
Ah,
Jesus. So,
mm, mm.
I mean, I never met him. So,
That's
and he
probably
never wrote back to me either.
what a
So,
dick.
which is probably fine. He didn't have an interest in me, I guess.
That's a plus for sure.
Right.
But
That's good. Yeah. And
man,
another thing was like, see, I don't know again if this was like Japanese or the church or both, but it was probably more the church. But like if you every time you sat in the church, you like women were on one side and men were on the other, and you could not commingle at all, even if you were married. And so like the wives would still sit on one side and the husbands would sit on the other, like
yeah,
during the services.
I think that's probably more to do not just with the culture but the cult itself because
Yeah.
like I could kind of said at the beginning we were talking about having that control, having that separation of nobody is better than the leader of this organization. You know what I mean? Not even your spouse or whatever. You know,
Right.
that's the first and foremost. So little things like little tactics like that of separating that's pretty common across most, cult structures from what I've researched and read and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, spring again, like I just was going to normal Sunday church, which they said Sunday was like all day, but I was like, I'm not doing that. I just went to the service, which was like an hour, and then they would always want to do something afterwards, like go and do more. I mean, they were probably recruiting and stuff too. One time they did have me go recruit with them because they kind of lied about like, oh, we'll go do this shopping thing, but first we have to like recruit for an hour. And I just stood there for an hour and I think they were
Hey,
using, yeah, I think they were
I'm
using,
one of the newbies.
right, yeah. Well, they said it like helped. I think they were trying to get it so people who are interested in English or something too would come up to them and stuff. Because then I'm there. Like they tried to use it to justify other stuff, but
Hey,
I feel like that
hey,
didn't work very well.
hey, Sarah, go talk to this person. Hey, listen, this shit's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I'm just using it for travel.
right. Yeah, I'm just
I would
using
not
it.
talk to these people if I were you.
I'm using it because they have a car, so we can
Right.
go to this place, this castle or whatever. Yeah, also the church was like in a rented office building on like the third floor, which I don't know
Legit.
if I don't know if that's normal in Japan. Probably not, but
I wouldn't assume so,
right.
but you know,
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And there were daily messages. Like I said, the proverbs they would email, it was every day. They would email every day somehow from this
was there
guy.
actually any good stuff in there, or was it just like
I
random
still have some.
nonsense?
I could look them up. You want me to look them up? I don't delete anything, so I still have some of the emails, but I'd have to
Really?
look it up.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
fine. We don't got to do all that right now, but I'd be interested.
Okay.
We might do a we could do a follow up episode on this a little while later, and we could talk about the wild emails and we got to find that letter too. I want to know what you wrote him.
Yeah, yeah, we could do a part two for
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean,
So
they just seemed like normal proverbs to me, though. Like they weren't crazy. What's crazy is their organization. Like he writes it in Korean, and they translate it into like all the languages for the 70 countries, like in a day. Like you get it the next day. So like that's crazy. The organization they have.
well, and I think that's what people don't understand, especially with some of these massive cults. Like we watch these Netflix documentaries or we go through stuff on YouTube and you don't realize the kind of infrastructure like just by the people that are in these organizations and how much those people do for those organizations, you know.
Right. Yeah.
You have something like this at that point that had been around for almost 40 years at that point. You've got some hardcore believers in there at the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, they
And
definitely.
their amount and the insane amount of dedication that these people have to this cause. You know what I mean? It's a weird condition that human beings have that like go all into things like this. You know what I mean? Because they are all in. You know?
Well, yeah, and if you've spent that long in it, then what do you do if you get out of it? Like it's
Well,
their
exactly.
life at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they have like lawyers and everything, like anyone that you could think of is there's someone in there that could do that profession or whatever. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, for the Proverbs, the first one I got was on Christmas, and the last one I got was June 7th, where I think they were trying to, like, I didn't even know they sent me more when I left, because I left in like May. So they were trying
Okay.
to contact me more, like send it to me for me to change my mind, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, I know we came on a little strong, okay? But hear me out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess they had services Fridays and Wednesdays too, but I never went to those where they're
Well,
trying to get me to.
once again, man, like I get it and I understand that the point of those people is to take as much of your time as possible to dedicate to
Yeah.
those organizations. And for the people that have fell into these types of organizations and have gotten out of it, like I'm not trying to poke any fun. I'm not trying to, make light of any of these horrible situations because even if it is somewhat benign, the level of control and weird stuff that happens in these organizations is never a good thing physically or mentally for the individuals involved. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's really unfortunate that we have a mindset where maybe you're someone that hasn't you've never fit in or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have this group of people that just invite you in and make you feel special and all this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's a sick tactic that these people use. So, like I said, I'm not making a lot of jokes and kind of poking a little bit of fun. I'm not trying to demean anybody that has gone through this or has done anything like that either.
Right.
It just still blows me away that every time I do research on any of these things or anything like that, it's just how easy it is for people to slip into that, you know?
Yeah. Well, they want somewhere to belong. And I mean, a lot of people said like they used to do drugs or they used to be an alcoholic and this changed their life too. Like, I mean, if it's working for them, I mean, most people don't know what he's actually done too.
Sure. That's a very important point, I think, is it's intentionally left out, just like that 8 on his, prison record or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
that prison number. No,
Yeah.
we're going to tell you the good stuff. We're not going to tell you anything negative about this gentleman,
Right.
because there's nothing negative about him. He's the reincarnated Jesus Christ or whatever the hell they believe.
Yeah. I
So,
also think this was when I was in Tokyo, like for Christmas, they had a giant like show or something, like where the second in command lady was there, like from Korea, like she came to that. This was like a massive like auditorium and like a whole production and stuff, like dancers and everything. It was crazy. And it like was a long time. It was like for 6 hours or something.
was that the lady that shook your hand?
Yeah, yeah, later.
Oh, man.
Right, yeah, she was there. Yeah, she came to our church later, specifically, like in Nagoya, and she specifically asked to shake my hand, like to talk to me, and someone translated what she was saying. But since I was an American or whatever, and so I
So
shook her
you
hand.
touched
That was
you
later, but
touched this you touched the second in command.
yeah, her name's, well, people call her J, like the letter J. So,
Is it
because
lowercase or uppercase?
it's uppercase, just J.
Ah,
Because some people call him R too for some reason. I don't know why. The letter R. I'm not sure.
hmm.
Because even like my handler, she had like a little necklace that had R for him.
Oh,
So,
RJ,
so
real Jesus, the real Jesus. Those two
yeah,
together, those are the
yeah,
real Jesus.
together. Right.
Yeah,
Well, because their thing too was that like God, like the Trinity or whatever, like the Holy Spirit, God, and Jesus are like three different spirits that inhabit
hmm.
someone. And that's how it goes through. So you had three people who were like she was the embodiment of the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And then
And you
he
got to
was the
shake her hand.
embodiment of Jesus. Right. Yeah. And everyone talked about how every time she talks, you'd feel the Holy Spirit and everything. And I was just exhausted. So I was just like, I don't feel this.
I
I
just
don't
want to
think so.
go eat some food and take a nap. Okay, I'm
Right.
over it.
Yeah. And she was also one of the ladies like that was in charge of like, because she would say, you're a star and like have you meet him and then you'd get sexually assaulted. Like she was one of the people, like the biggest accomplice for him. So
Did she ever face any legal trouble or anything like
she
that? Or,
didn't. I don't think she did.
huh,
I think she's basically in command now because he's in jail forever
interesting.
now. And he's like, I mean, at this point, he's like 78 or something. Like, he's old.
Well, I bet she could still heal you.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Actually,
Yeah.
now that she's in charge, maybe I could join and get some healing.
Yeah, maybe. You could become the third in command. You could be God incarnate, I guess, because they didn't
I don't
have him, I guess.
I don't have enough time or energy to devote myself to a cult right now, okay?
Well,
Got too
yeah.
much got too
Yeah, I did. I didn't have the energy as a college student. You think I have it now? Like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But like so I mean, kind of in the spring, like after they're trying to get me to do all this stuff and whatever and be a what is it, evangelist or whatever. Like that's when I was kind of like it's not very fun anymore because I'm done learning the little lessons that were kind of like a little logic puzzle to me and now they want me to like recruit people and be like I'm not doing that.
Look, I'm not having a good time anymore, okay? You guys didn't take me anywhere cool for the last 2 months, okay? I'm just gonna go back to the United States and just live my life, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of distancing myself, but then for like it's called Golden Week there, or maybe it was for spring break. I don't know which one, but it was like in April. They were like, "Oh, we're going to Korea for the week if you want to come." And I was like, "Well, hell yeah, I want to come." Because I thought
Yeah.
we were going to sightsee and stuff.
I'm here to
So
travel, baby.
right, yeah, I'm here to travel for basically free. Because like a flight from Japan to Korea is it's like $100. Like when am I going to do that again? So and like one of the Australian ladies was going. That was like because she also knew Korean. She knew like 5 languages. It was crazy. She knew Japanese too, but so she was going to be like a translator and kind of a guide. Because like my handler didn't know Korean either, so I ended up going with her and like the other lady that had got me at first, like those 2 ladies, but there was like 15 people that were going. So I felt like, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. No big deal. Just, leaving one foreign country for another and only one person speaks the language.
yeah. Well, a couple
Yeah.
other people spoke
Well.
Korean, but I wasn't as close with it. It was like 5 people that I was like more close to that was going,
Mhm.
that I was mostly hanging out with. And we did stay in Seoul, which was like cool. That was fun. We stayed there like 3 days.
Yeah, I will say that was one of the craziest experiences when I was over there seeing Seoul like that. Because, I mean, you think about like capital cities of countries and stuff like that, and it's like, man, like that place was so wildly awesome, you
Yeah,
know? Like unbelievable just to walk around and sightsee. Like not even really do
right.
anything. Just to walk around, it was amazing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that part of the trip. That was fun.
Sure. Absolutely.
But we did stay in a bathhouse, which was interesting. That was kind
Mm.
of, it was fine. It was an experience for sure, but it was very hot in there.
They tend to be.
But yeah, but it was interesting to sleep there. And then, one of the days though in Seoul, like I really wanted to sightsee a lot and stuff. And like one of the days was like a tour of like where he like because he was in Seoul, that's where he started this cult or whatever. So it was like, oh, here's where he got the first people, or here's where he stayed when he was a college student, or whatever. It was like a tour of his life. And I was like, I don't really care that much about that, but I was like, well, I'm here with these people. I don't know Korean. I gotta stick with them, like Then for like, because we went for like a week, so we stayed in Seoul for like a couple days, and then we went to Walmingdong, the headquarters of
Mm.
the place, which was, I mean, I looked it up, but it's only like 3 hour bus ride or something, but it felt like a pretty long time for me because I didn't know where we were going.
Right.
So I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I didn't exactly know that was part of the trip plan.
Well, of course not. They're not going to tell you that. They're just wanting to
Right.
have a good time. So
Yeah.
you said in Wangmingdong, is that how you say it?
Walmingdong, I think. Yeah.
Okay. That's the actual headquarters for like the whole religion is what you're
Yes.
saying, right?
That they're trying to
Mm.
make it like like Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's a pilgrimage. You're going to the Mecca.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was very pretty.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country. I've loved lots of aspects of that place. Just not, cult involvement, you know.
Well, yeah. Yeah, because it was supposed to be like his village that he grew up in, and then he like bulldozed a lot of the area to make like um waterfalls and stuff, like crazy stuff.
Hmm.
They said he picked out every single rock or boulder for the waterfall.
Busy man.
So yeah, and like every single tree he like picked out to put, like God told him what tree to put where to make it the most beautiful place, I guess.
Interesting. Hmm.
So yeah, we stayed there like 4 or 5 days. And the one thing is like there's only one bus driver, it seemed like you only take this bus like in and out of there. Like he's part of it. So it's like then I started thinking maybe I'm stuck here or something.
I think I've made a mistake.
This is fine. Like
Everything's fine. Everything is okay.
yeah. I mean, cause I don't know. Cause it was like definitely sleep deprivation. They did that for sure. Cause I don't remember, I remember sleeping like 1 or 2 of the nights, but I think we were there for 4 days. I don't remember where. I know I slept on the gazebo for a night. It's just like, give me somewhere where I could just sleep. Because they wanted to do all these activities and stuff still.
Well, of course. Trying to
Like
break you
into
down.
the night. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
have to do the 1 a.m. prayer bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, activities ending at 11:30. Don't forget, everybody be up in an hour and a half to, pray for our Lord and Savior. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I did sleep in the pew for one of the nights.
Well, you were just,
When people were praying and then I just went to sleep. I was like, I'll just sleep here. Because I was like with my friends or whatever still. So I was like, well, I can't leave without them, this room or whatever.
right.
So I just went to sleep there.
Well, and probably for the best in a place 3 hours away from Seoul in a country you've never been to. You don't want to separate yourself from the
yeah,
individuals
right.
you're with.
Yeah, I don't know Korean. There were a bunch of people from different countries there, though. Like, I met this one girl. Yeah, I met this one girl from South Africa. I mean, there were a lot of people that spoke English, but I didn't want to get separated from my, like, 5 people or whatever.
Right.
But, and like, they would, I don't remember, they never told me, like, when we would eat. Like, they were just like, oh, it's mealtime now, and we'd go get in line and get food or whatever. So it was like, I wasn't sure, like, when my next meal would be.
Food and sleep deprivation, man. Getting after it.
At least it was free. But
well, sure. What kind of food was it?
a lot of like rice and like a lot of Korean dishes, like meat in a sauce and rice and little snack
loves
stuff
the traditional
or whatever.
Korean meat in a sauce
and chicken or something. Yeah, like a rice with chicken and whatever. I don't know.
Was it like a bulgogi thing or something like that? Because I remember.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay.
Right. Breakfast, I don't remember. They probably had little like pastries and stuff. Because it was like getting a line and it was kind of like a cafeteria. Like you just stood there and they give you like whatever on your tray and that's what you get. It was like jail.
Yeah, you were in a freaking cult. You're at the headquarters where everything is controlled and dictated now.
Yeah. It was pretty though, but.
Well, I would fucking hope so, since he picked out every boulder and every tree and placed it in the most beautiful spot. That'll be the most beautiful place I've ever fucking been.
Well, and I love waterfalls, so.
Well, of course, everybody's a sucker for a waterfall. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, but at least we did leave. Yeah, but yeah, I was a little worried about that.
I'm thankful you made it back. But yeah, when I heard that part of the story, I was like, okay, like the being recruited part, the kind of going to church thing, the going to events. At the end of the day, you can still go back to your dormitory and not have to be with these people. You go on a trip on an airplane to a different country.
Right. Do you want to see a picture of it, the place?
Yeah.
You can just Google it, but... Oh, hold on. It's on my phone, though, too. Like, that's the...
He picked out every one of those rocks?
Apparently, yeah. And that's the gazebo I slept in for a night. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy, though. I don't know what's true, whatever. And this is like the big building where we'd have our meals and stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Well, listeners, we'll have those in the show notes if you want to check out some awesome pictures from the cult headquarters that Sarah was almost abducted in, you know.
yeah. Well, right. So after that trip, I mean, I think I only had like a month left. So like then I really didn't like hang out with them that much afterwards. I was
Yeah.
kind of just
You
like,
guys,
okay, whatever.
y'all overstepped your boundaries, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, for real. I was like, oh, I guess it's 4 hours by train away.
Yeah, so it's probably that's the one thing I did notice about Korea is it's not like the distance wise, like you like when we think about it, if you're thinking about it from an American's perspective, the distance is not that far, but it's such a rugged country that
Right.
it takes a long time to get places, you know.
Yeah, it's literally in the mountains, this place. It's like in a valley in the mountains. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
So
that's kind of. I did go to like a farewell thing where I was leaving and I had to say, they wanted me to give a speech. So I talked about how I was going to do whatever in America and Chicago. So,
man, I still can't believe they were so excited to have you in Chicago too. That's what blows me away the most.
yeah.
Is that it's
Yeah, they
just
really
like,
wanted me.
yeah, hey, we know a guy that knows a guy that's going to make you second in command in Chicago if you go spread the good word of, you know, the complete whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think Chicago had like 5 members. So yeah, I
Oh,
could have been one of
you
the
could
big
have been number
ones.
6.
Yeah. Could have. They did try to they tried to like have me video chat some people there too to like talk to before I went back to like get me to feel like they were my friends too or something. But yeah, I mean I came back and I never like talked to them. I did try to talk to like 2 of them to be friends and I said like, "Hey, I'm not in this, but we could just be friends. We could still talk about literally anything else." And they weren't interested. So, which is
Yeah,
I
I
mean you
mean,
kind of have to be like that, I guess. They
I
have
was
to.
gonna I was gonna say that's typical behavior too from individuals in cults of, you know, you hear it all the time about, especially like Scientology, you know, like
But yeah.
they they don't like to, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but they're not going to openly talk about it to people that aren't Scientologists either. You know what I mean?
Well, right. Yeah.
You know,
And the 2 people I was trying to talk to were like the people that recruited me. So they probably felt I was a
yeah,
failure or they failed or whatever. So
yeah,
they didn't want to talk to me.
well, and two, I mean, they probably thought they had you hook, line, and sinker, and it probably was kind of
Well,
embarrassing to
yeah.
them that they failed like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I touched the second in command lady and she
Yeah.
talked to me about,
How,
I fooled them all. They
how
were
dare
probably
you?
pissed.
Oh, I bet. You know,
Yeah.
that second in
So,
command lady had some plans for you, man, and they were like, "Dude, I'm gonna get an extra scoop of whatever at the freaking chow line when we go back to, you know, the headquarters."
yeah.
And now
And I
this,
have notes on it and stuff.
yeah. Well, so I think that would be a very interesting follow up episode to this sometime in the future. So let's do that in the future. Let's talk. So we kind of gave the general overview. We didn't talk too much about the cult, but listeners, we'll have everything down in the show notes as far as any documentation, any Netflix stuff, any YouTube documentaries, whatever we can find to give you a little bit more general information about the cult, not just specifically for Sarah's
Right.
experience. But I really wanted to hear about it firsthand because I mean, I heard the podcast, but you know, it's one of those stories that I just never thought I would be even loosely associated with a cult. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm just sitting here as a kind of a fly on the wall for this. But yeah, I think that would be a really awesome follow up episode sometime in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could go through the Proverbs too.
I'm down for
They were
that.
like 20 pages. I was like, who's going to read this? Like, are you kidding me? Every
well,
day? Like,
yeah, we are. That's what we're about to do.
yeah, they thought, well, yeah, this will be the first time I read them all the way through.
Give it a good analyze a third party. I can't talk. Words are hard. Give it a third party review of whatever, you know, these proverbs are, and we'll tell this guy what's up if he's even still alive wherever he's at. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he's in jail for the rest of his life, but I don't know
Yeah.
if he's still alive, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, I think all in all, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Not a bad first
Yeah.
episode. I mean, kind of a little all over the place. Listeners, do apologize for that. We'll try to be a little bit more structured in the future, but you know, I think that was a pretty solid first episode. I don't think many podcasts are started off with, "Hey, this one time I joined a cult. Let's talk about it."
Right, yeah.
You know.
Yep. Hopefully that's the only time I join a cult.
Well, fingers crossed, and
Yeah, I shouldn't be joining again.
yeah. Just give me a heads up if and try to recruit me so maybe I can talk you out of
or
it. How about that?
or should I infiltrate and report back?
I don't know, man. That's kind of a dangerous game.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. They
Yeah.
already know my face, and I've talked about it twice now, so
Well, they probably have your picture everywhere, being like, if you see this chick, stop her.
probably. Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Paranoid Podcast. So, like I said, listeners, we're going to have a lot of very broad, open-ended stuff where we have very specific topics and maybe some topics like this where we just kind of wing it, so to speak. But hope you guys enjoyed, and we will check you guys next week on the
Yep.
Paranoid Perspective.